This is the vlog for September 18th, 2018. Another 1818. Tomorrow will be the 7-month anniversary. We're over halfway there. With overtime being what it is, some of these are going to be not very interesting because I just don't have a lot to talk about. It would all be work related, and as you may have noticed, I try my best not to talk a lot about work. These vlogs are supposed to be a thing for sort of relaxation and reflection, not crying and moaning about doing a lot of work or a lot of overtime or this, that. The one thing I'm going to cry and moan about is I need to trim my beard and mustache a bit because they are getting a bit silly. Boy, that actually makes a pretty neat line, even on the camera. Yes. I should have got my hair cut last weekend. I wasn't thinking very hard about that. Didn't do much of anything this weekend. Played a lot of Warframe when I should have been playing some Spider-Man. I might play Spider-Man tonight, actually. But in other Marvel-related news, a trailer dropped that I've been anxiously awaiting, and I'm not very disappointed. In fact, I don't think I'm disappointed at all. It's sort of more than what I hoped. Captain Mar-Vell is going to be the next Marvel movie coming out early next year. And they're taking a very interesting spin on it. So it seems like they're mixing a bunch of Captain Marvel backgrounds. The original Captain Mar-Vell was a Kree warrior who looked human but was alien and had not been born or grew up on Earth. But he learned to really like it here. He died. They make a big point of saying, like, oh, the original Captain Mar-Vell, because that was how it was pronounced, and people just said, oh, Captain Marvel, okay. They seem to make a big point in comics talking about how he died. And there have been quite a few other Captain Marvels since then. There was Mar-Vell, which was a clone based on the original Mar-Vell's DNA. That guy went bonkers. He had the special omniscience to know where evil was being done in the galaxy so that he could go there and stop it. But that power went out of control, and it eventually drove him insane. And he decided that being omniscient meant that he was a god and he could behave as a god would. And his version of how a god would behave was very Greek, sort of doing whatever he wanted and blowing up anybody that crossed him. Unfortunately, that only gets you so far in the Marvel Universe before someone equally or more powerful than you comes along to stop you. Mar-Vell ran afoul of the next Captain Marvel, who had a much more human appearance and was not at all Kree. I believe she was a Titan, much like Thanos. And her name started with a PH, like Fenna Ferris. She was the first female Captain Marvel, actually. She's gone by a few different monikers at this point. I think she was most recently Photon. But I stopped reading the comic a little bit after she appeared and fought Mar-Vell for the title of Captain Marvel. But the most recent Captain Marvel, and in fact the one that the movie seems to be based off of, is Carol Danvers, who has been called Captain Marvel in the past, I think, but is more commonly known by comics readers as Miss Marvel. But when the last Captain Marvel sort of either went rogue or blew up or something else bad happened, Carol stepped up to the plate and took the moniker, I was trying to mantle and became the official Captain Marvel. Carol was a human who had a Kree blood transfusion, which made her super strong, gave her the ability to fly, made her very resilient, but was not herself Kree and had a human upbringing. It seems like they're sort of mixing some of the aspects of all of these stories together. Because just from what I saw in the trailer, it looks like this Captain Mar-Vell has a lot of the power, this cosmic energy that she can focus into blasts or use to lift things with telekinesis or whatever it is she does. And she seems to be not of Earth. Like, she comes to Earth and she's like, oh, this is very strange. But she talks about having memories of being human and being on Earth. And my take isn't just that she's just has, amnesia. I imagine that she was, Carol Danvers was always a pilot. She was usually a test pilot, I want to say, if not in just a simple fighter pilot. My guess is that she was some sort of test pilot and she flew a space vehicle and probably got blown up or damaged beyond repair, and the Kree found her and probably turned her into this being that is Captain Mar-Vell, but couldn't save most of her memories, so she has these fragments that she has. That's my guess. That's my hot take, but I could be wrong, and I always like being surprised by where they take these stories, and it's definitely a new take. It feels... some of the trailer reminds me of concepts similar to the Green Lanterns from DC, which is weird because Marvel has their own sort of Green Lantern Corps group of empowered people from different planets and different backgrounds and different races, but that's the Nova Corps. And the Nova Corps in the Marvel Universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, doesn't actually do all the same stuff that the comic Marvel, the comic Nova Corps can do. They seem to be much more mundane. They don't have a lot of the individual powers that Novas had in the comics. Although the most famous Nova is the one who got all of their powers when the rest of the Corps was destroyed during the Annihilation series. I do know a little bit about comics. I don't know that much. You would be surprised. You meet people that know so much compared to me. But I do know a bit about comics because I did work in a store that sold comics for a couple of years, and they sort of wanted us, in combination with selling the HeroClix figures, to sort of get into comics and cross-promote comics so that we could sell the comics, people get interested in characters, they'd want to buy more boosters to try and get those characters. That was the business model. I didn't personally agree with it, but I like comics, and I really enjoyed comics, and I got into comics from that. And it left me with a positive feeling for comics, which I recommend to other people. I guess I do have stuff to talk about even when I'm working overtime. Well, that's good. I think I'll call it quits here, though. So I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.